The only competition is the person in the mirror. And when you truly understand that, your entire life shifts. Most people spend their days comparing themselves to everyone around them, who's winning, who's ahead, who has more, who looks better, who seems more successful. But that mindset keeps you locked in a battle you can never win, because the moment you measure your worth by someone else's progress, you surrender your power. The real fight, the real struggle, the real growth happens inside you. It's you against your excuses, you against your fears, you against your laziness, your doubt, your old habits, your old stories, your old identity. The world will test you, but it will never test you as hard as you test yourself. The mirror doesn't lie. It reflects exactly who you are today, but it also shows who you could become if you committed to beating the weaker version of yourself every single day. When you wake up in the morning, the first voice you hear is your own. That voice can either limit you or lift you. Some days it tells you to stay comfortable, to take it easy, to try again tomorrow. Other days it pushes you to be better, to show up, to fight for your goals. And that's where the battle begins. Before you even touch the world outside, you have already fought the most important war inside your mind. You don't have to conquer others, you have to conquer yourself. You have to overcome the version of you that settles, that procrastinates, that says it's fine when you know it's not. The version that chooses comfort over progress. Growth comes when you choose to do what the weaker version of you refuses to do. The person in the mirror knows your fears better than anyone else. It knows every shortcut you've taken, every time you quit, every time you lied to yourself. It also knows every dream you've buried and every potential you've ignored. You can't fool that reflection. You can filter your photos, fake your confidence, pretend you're winning, but your reflection exposes the truth. And once you accept that truth, you gain the power to change it. That's what separates the average from the unstoppable: honesty, brutal honesty with yourself. When you stop blaming circumstances, stop blaming people, stop blaming time, and look yourself in the mirror and say, "This is on me," that's when transformation begins. Every goal you've ever set depends on how you show up for yourself. Not once, not when it's easy, but repeatedly, consistently, relentlessly. Success is not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. If yesterday you did 1 hour of work, today you do 1 hour and 10 minutes. If yesterday you doubted yourself, today you push through even when the doubt shows up. If yesterday you failed, today you try again with more determination. That's what you versus you means. You are measuring progress based on your own journey, your own growth, your own potential. People often misunderstand competition. They think success is limited, that only a few can win. But the truth is, your success does not take away from anyone else's, and their success does not take away from yours. You can cheer for others and still chase your own goals with intensity. The only person who can block your progress is the person looking back at you. That person controls your decisions, your habits, your discipline, your focus. If you lose that battle, you lose everything. But when you win that inner battle, no external obstacle can stop you. There will be days when the mirror reflects a tired version of you, a frustrated version, a broken version. That's okay. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be improving. What matters is that you don't run from that reflection. You face it, you acknowledge it, and you challenge it. You say, "I'm not done. I'm not giving up. I'm not letting this version of me win." That is how champions rise, not through talent, not through luck, but through the refusal to be defeated by their own limitations. The Rock often says the competition isn't others. It's you. You wake up with the opportunity to get better. That's not a motivational quote. It's a blueprint for life. When you focus on becoming the strongest, sharpest, most disciplined version of yourself, everything else falls into place. You stop caring about impressing people. You stop worrying about opinions. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You become centered, grounded, and unstoppable because you finally understand that the real victory is self-mastery. At the end of the day, it's a simple truth. The world cannot beat you unless you beat yourself first. Your success, your growth, your transformation. None of it depends on other people. It depends on how many times you choose to rise when the weaker version of you tries to pull you back down. It depends on whether you're willing to sacrifice who you are for who you want to become. So look in the mirror, lock eyes with your future self, and make the decision today that you will not lose to the old you anymore. The battle is personal. The battle is daily. But when you win the you versus you fight, you win your entire life. Discipline always beats motivation because motivation is a feeling, temporary, unpredictable, and inconsistent, while discipline is a commitment, a decision, a personal contract you make with yourself. Motivation comes and goes whenever it wants. It's there on the good days, when you feel energized, inspired, excited about your goals. But on the days when you're tired, unmotivated, stressed, or overwhelmed, motivation disappears. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when motivation walks away. It's the backbone of every success story. It's the thing that separates dreamers from doers. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they take action. But the truth is that if you depend on motivation, you will never achieve long-term consistency. But if you master discipline, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. People admire successful individuals and think they're always motivated. They imagine them waking up every morning full of energy, ready to grind. But that's not reality. Even the most successful athletes, entrepreneurs, and artists wake up on days where they don't feel like working. They don't feel like training. They don't feel like pushing themselves. The difference is they show up anyway. They do the work regardless of their feelings. Discipline gives them the strength to act without emotional permission. It makes them unstoppable because their actions are not controlled by mood. They're controlled by purpose, by standards, by a higher level of self-respect. When you rely on motivation, you give your feelings the power to decide your progress. When you rely on discipline, you take that power back. Discipline is the foundation of self-control. It's the internal voice that says, I will do what needs to be done, even when I don't want to. And when you live by that mindset, you create momentum. Momentum becomes routine. Routine becomes identity. And identity becomes destiny. Discipline transforms you into the type of person who follows through. Not sometimes, not when conditions are perfect, but always. That's how you build confidence. Confidence isn't built by success. It's built by the repeated act of keeping promises you make to yourself. There's a reason discipline feels hard. It requires sacrifice. It demands that you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. It pushes you to do things that aren't always pleasant. Waking up early, training when your body is tired, working on your goals when everyone else is relaxing, saying no to distractions, staying focused when your mind wants to wander. But every act of discipline is a small victory that strengthens you. Every time you choose discipline over temptation, you teach yourself that you are in control, and the more you practice it, the easier it becomes to keep pushing forward, even when everything around you tells you to stop. Motivation might get you started, but discipline keeps you going. Think about the people who set goals every new year. They feel motivated for a week or two. They buy the gym membership. They start the diet. They make promises to change their life. But the moment the initial excitement fades, their actions stop. Why? Because they were relying on motivation. Discipline is what keeps the person who actually transforms their life going 7 months later, still training, still committed, still focused while everyone else has quit. Discipline builds consistency. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds results. Without discipline, dreams die as soon as the feeling fades. Discipline also teaches you patience. It teaches you that the things you want won't come overnight. It teaches you to trust the process even when progress is slow. Most people give up because they want instant results. They want transformation without discomfort. But discipline forces you to keep working even when the results are invisible. It teaches you that progress is happening even when you can't see it. Every rep matters, every hour matters, every decision matters. You become unstoppable the moment you understand that effort compounds, and discipline is what ensures that effort never stops. The Rock talks about discipline all the time. He doesn't sugarcoat the process. He trains when he's exhausted. He works when others would rest. He pushes when others would quit. He always emphasizes that greatness is built on daily habits, not occasional effort. That's the mindset that creates champions. Discipline becomes a lifestyle, not a chore. When you develop discipline, you no longer negotiate with your excuses. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop overthinking. You simply act. You simply execute. You simply show up because that is who you are now. And the beautiful thing is that discipline gives you freedom. Most people think discipline limits your life, but the truth is that it expands it. Discipline gives you freedom from stress because you know you're doing what needs to be done. Freedom from regret because you didn't quit. Freedom from insecurity because you've proven to yourself that you're reliable. Freedom from chaos because you've created structure. Freedom from guilt because you're living in alignment with your goals. That's real power. That's the kind of power motivation could never give you. The more disciplined you become, the more respect you have for yourself. You trust yourself more. You believe in yourself more. You stop depending on other people to push you or validate you. You become self-driven, self-guided, self-created. You realize that discipline is a form of self-love. It's choosing what's best for you even when it's not easy. It's putting your future self ahead of your current comfort. That's how you build a life you're proud of. The truth is, anyone can feel motivated, but very few people develop discipline. And that's why very few people reach their full potential. Motivation makes you feel good in the moment, but discipline builds a life that feels good forever. Discipline doesn't just beat motivation, it destroys it, surpasses it, replaces it. Because when you have discipline, you don't need to wait for the right mood, the right time, the perfect conditions. You create the conditions through action. So understand this. The person who moves only when they feel motivated will always lose to the person who moves with discipline. Not sometimes, always. Because discipline shows up on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. And those days, the tough days, the tired days, the heavy days, are the days that truly shape your future. If you want a different life, don't chase motivation, build discipline. It is the unshakable foundation that will carry you to your goals long after motivation has disappeared. Pain is one of the greatest teachers life will ever give you, and when you learn how to turn pain into fuel, you unlock a level of strength, purpose, and resilience that most people never reach. Everyone experiences pain. Emotional pain, physical pain, financial struggle, rejection, failure, heartbreak, disappointment. But not everyone responds to it the same way. Some people let pain break them, and others use that same pain as the fire that forges them into something powerful. Pain itself isn't the enemy. It's the meaning you attach to it. It can be the reason you quit, or the reason you rise. It can weaken you, or it can sharpen you. The difference lies in how you choose to interpret it and what you choose to do with it. When you look at people who have achieved greatness, you'll find something in common. Every single one of them used pain as part of their growth. They didn't run from it. They didn't hide from it. They didn't numb it with distractions or excuses. They faced it head on. They refused to let it define them negatively. They understood that pain reveals who you really are. It strips away your comfort, your ego, your excuses, and forces you to confront your true self. You learn more from pain than you ever will from pleasure. Pleasure makes you comfortable. Pain makes you grow. The problem is that most people avoid pain at all costs. They avoid discomfort, avoid challenges, avoid anything that feels difficult. But avoiding pain never leads to strength, it leads to stagnation. The Rock often talks about the struggles he went through in his early life, being evicted, being broke, being rejected, feeling lost. Those experiences were painful, but those exact moments became the fuel that drove him to rise. He didn't let the pain define him. He let it refine him. He turned his lowest points into motivation to push harder, train harder, work harder, and transform his life. The pain became his power. Pain forces you to make a choice. You can either sit in it and feel sorry for yourself, or you can rise and turn that pain into purpose. When life hits you hard, it's not because you're weak, it's because you're being prepared. Every setback is a setup for growth. Every hardship is shaping you into the person you need to become to handle the success you're asking for. But you only get that reward if you're willing to extract the lessons from the pain instead of running from it. Pain asks you, how badly do you want this? Are you willing to push through? Are you willing to fight even when it hurts? Most people quit when it starts to hurt. Champions keep going. Pain also builds mental toughness. It teaches you to endure. When you push through difficult moments, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. That confidence becomes permanent. It doesn't matter how many times life knocks you down. What matters is how many times you get back up. Every time you rise after being hit, you become harder to break. Eventually, you become the type of person who doesn't fear challenges because you've survived worse. Pain becomes your armor. There is a part of you, your strongest, most unstoppable self, that can only be activated through struggle. You won't find it when everything is easy. You find it when you're tired, frustrated, hurting, and tempted to quit. That's when the real you shows up. That is the version of yourself that pain is trying to introduce you to. Pain is the doorway to your higher self, but most people never walk through it because they're too afraid to feel uncomfortable. They think pain means something is wrong, but sometimes pain means something is being built inside you. Every great transformation requires discomfort. If you want a stronger body, you endure the pain of training. If you want a clearer mind, you confront the pain of discipline and habits. If you want emotional strength, you face the pain of healing and letting go. If you want success, you face the pain of sacrifice. There is no growth without struggle. The pain you avoid today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. But the pain you face today becomes the strength you carry for life. Pain also gives you direction. When something hurts, it's usually showing you what needs to change. Failure shows you what to improve. Rejection shows you what isn't aligned for you. Loss shows you what matters. Fear shows you where you need courage. Instead of seeing pain as a punishment, start seeing it as feedback, information you can use to build a better version of yourself. Pain is a compass, pointing you toward the areas of your life that require your attention, growth, and action. When you decide to use pain as fuel, everything shifts. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of feeling defeated, you feel determined. Instead of giving up, you get resourceful. Pain becomes the spark that ignites your next level. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the creator of your future. The truth is, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can't control whether life hits you. You can only control what you do next. If you take your pain and channel it into your goals, your dreams, your growth, you become unstoppable. You transform hardship into hunger. You turn heartbreak into strength. You turn fear into courage. You turn setbacks into comebacks. That's what powerful people do. They don't let pain destroy them. They let pain drive them. And one day, you will look back on the moments that hurt the most and realize they were the moments that shaped you the most. You will realize that the pain you hated became the reason you grew, the reason you built discipline, the reason you found purpose, the reason you became stronger, wiser, and more resilient. You will be grateful for the pain because without it, you would not have become the person you were meant to be. So don't numb the pain, don't run from it. Stand in it, learn from it, use it, turn every ounce of pain into the fuel that pushes you toward your goals. Let it sharpen your focus, strengthen your determination, and harden your mindset. Pain is not your enemy, it is your power. And when you learn to harness that power, nothing, absolutely nothing can stop you. Showing up when no one is watching is the true measure of character, discipline, and personal integrity. It's easy to perform, to hustle, to put in effort when people are clapping for you, when eyes are on you, when someone is checking your progress. But what you do in silence, in solitude, in the moments when no one will ever know whether you worked or slacked, those are the moments that define who you really are and what you're truly becoming. Success is rarely built in the spotlight. It's built behind closed doors, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the quiet grind that no one sees and no one praises. The world celebrates the results, but the results are only possible because of the hidden work that came long before them. Most people crave recognition more than they crave transformation. They want the applause without the effort, the trophy without the training, the praise without the process. But greatness doesn't work like that. When you decide to show up even when there's no audience, when there's no applause, when there's no immediate reward, that's when you begin to separate yourself from the average. That's when you start becoming the kind of person who doesn't need validation to move forward. You don't need approval. You don't need someone to push you. You push yourself because your commitment is real, not performative. The truth is, the world will never see most of your grind. They won't see the nights you stayed up studying. They won't see the early mornings you forced yourself out of bed. They won't see the hours you spent practicing, improving, failing, trying again. They won't see the sacrifices, the discipline, the tough choices, or the battles you fought with yourself. People will only see the result and call it talent, luck, or natural ability without understanding the unseen work behind it. That's why showing up when no one is watching is so powerful. It's the part of the process that no one applauds, but everyone respects once they see the outcome. Consistency in private builds confidence in public. When you train alone, when you practice in silence, when you work when no one else is around, you are strengthening not just your skill, but your belief in yourself. You know you've earned your progress because you've done the work even when it was hard, boring, or unacknowledged. Confidence is not built from compliments. It's built from preparation. It's built from the knowledge that you have put in the hours no one knows about but you. The Rock embodies this principle. He often shares that the hardest work of his life happens when no camera is around, no crowd is cheering, and no one is paying attention. The grind in the gym at 4 a.m., the endless repetition, the moments of pushing through fatigue, those moments are what prepare him for every arena he steps into. He shows up for himself long before he shows up for the world. That's the mindset of a leader. That's the mindset of someone who refuses to let external circumstances dictate their effort. When you show up, even when it's quiet, you prove something important to yourself, that your commitment is real. You're not doing it to impress someone. You're not doing it for approval. You're doing it because you made a promise to yourself and you're honoring it. Integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is checking. And when you live with integrity, you build an identity that can't be shaken by failure, criticism, or doubt. You become the kind of person people admire, not because you talk about what you're doing, but because you consistently live it. There will be days when you feel invisible, unappreciated, unrecognized. Days when you're putting in work and it feels like no one cares, but those days are the ones that count the most. Those are the days that build grit. Those are the days that shape your character. The world might not be watching, but your future self is. Every moment you choose to stay committed is a brick you're laying on the path toward the version of yourself you want to become. You cannot expect greatness if you only work when it's convenient. You cannot expect growth if you only push yourself when someone is holding you accountable. Real accountability comes from within. It's you looking at your goals, looking at your potential, and deciding that the standard you hold yourself to is higher than anything anyone else could ever set for you. When you only work for applause, you become dependent on others. But when you work in silence, you become self-sufficient, self-driven, and self-made. The most important battles you'll ever fight happen in solitude. The battle between doing the work or procrastinating, the battle between staying consistent or giving up, the battle between pushing through discomfort or falling back into old habits. No one will witness these battles, but the results will show up in every area of your life. The world will eventually notice the transformation, but they will never see the internal war that produced it. And that is the beauty of showing up. When no one is watching, it builds a strength that no one can take away from you. It builds discipline that no criticism can break. It builds resilience that no failure can destroy. It builds a foundation that is unshakable because it wasn't created for the world. It was created for you. One day the results will speak for themselves. People will look at your success and call it overnight. They will wonder how you did it. They will ask for the secret. And you will know that the secret wasn't some magic formula or sudden burst of motivation. It was the quiet grind, the unseen hours, the private victories, the moments you chose to show up for yourself when no one else would know if you did or didn't. So keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep pushing even when no one sees you. Because the world might not be watching now, but your future is. And everything you want, everything you're working for, depends on the choices you make when the room is empty, the lights are off, and it's just you versus you. Small daily wins build unstoppable strength because real transformation is never the result of one big moment. It's the accumulation of little victories repeated over time. Most people believe that success comes from huge breakthroughs or dramatic changes, but the truth is that greatness is built in the simple, consistent actions that seem insignificant in the moment. It's the daily habits, the minor improvements, the quiet progress that compound and eventually create extraordinary results. Every big success story you admire is just a pile of small wins stacked together, day after day, long before anyone noticed. The problem many people face is that they underestimate the power of little steps. They think progress must be massive to count. They believe that unless they make huge jumps, they're not moving forward. But that mindset kills momentum. It discourages consistency. You don't need to change your entire life today. You just need to win the next moment. One task, one rep, one decision, one choice, one win. When you start small and stay consistent, you build the mental and emotional foundation that supports long-term growth. Small wins matter because they are sustainable. Anyone can push hard for a day. Anyone can sprint for a week. But the people who win are the ones who build routines they can repeat endlessly. A small win can be waking up on time, drinking water instead of soda, going to the gym even if it's just for 20 minutes, reading 10 pages, journaling for 5 minutes, choosing discipline over comfort, or saying no to a distraction that normally derails you. These actions might seem tiny, but they are psychological victories. They send a message to your brain: I'm in control. I'm moving forward. I am building momentum. Momentum is powerful because once you start stacking wins, you begin to trust yourself. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop needing external motivation. You start building internal strength. Every little win reinforces the belief that you are capable of controlling your actions and shaping your life. That kind of confidence becomes unstoppable because it's grounded in real evidence, your own daily behavior. Small wins also shape your identity. Every action you take, no matter how small, is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. When you show up consistently, even in tiny ways, you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who improves, someone who grows. That identity shift is far more important than any short-term result. Once you believe you're the kind of person who takes action, you will naturally take more action. Your habits are a reflection of your identity, and your identity is shaped by your habits. Another reason small wins are so powerful is that they eliminate the intimidation of big goals. A massive goal can feel overwhelming, impossible, or too far away. But when you break that giant goal into small, manageable steps, everything becomes clear and achievable. You don't climb a mountain in one giant leap. You climb it step by step, breath by breath. The same is true for your dreams. You don't build a strong body with one workout. You build it rep by rep. You don't master a skill with one practice session. You master it through consistent repetition. The little things matter more than you think. The Rock often talks about the importance of daily discipline, how he focuses on improving one detail at a time, one workout at a time, one choice at a time. That's how he built his career, his body, and his mindset. He didn't skip the small steps, he embraced them. Because greatness isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build day after day with small intentional actions that compound into massive results. Small wins also create emotional resilience. When you aim too high too fast, you set yourself up for disappointment. You burn out. You quit when the results don't show up right away. But when you focus on daily wins, you always have something to celebrate. You always have progress to acknowledge. And that keeps you motivated, focused, and emotionally steady. The journey doesn't feel overwhelming, because you can clearly see that you're moving forward, even if the steps are small. There will be days when you feel like your efforts aren't amounting to much. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when you question whether the small wins even matter. But those are the days you must remember that consistency compounds. A single drop of water seems insignificant, but over time it carves through rock. Tiny seeds eventually grow into massive trees. The little actions you take today are shaping the future you're building, even if you can't see the results yet. Every athlete, every entrepreneur, every leader, every successful individual became who they are because they kept showing up, stacking small wins, and trusting the long-term process. They didn't rely on motivation, they relied on habits. They kept pushing even when it felt slow, even when it felt boring, even when no one else noticed, because they understood that greatness is not sudden, it's earned gradually. One day, the small wins you commit to now will become the big wins people admire. One day, the tiny decisions you make today become the habits that define your life. One day, the quiet effort you're putting in will become the transformation others call luck or talent. But you'll know the truth. You'll know that every step mattered, every small win counted, and every bit of consistency built the strength you carry now. So don't chase the huge breakthroughs. Chase the daily wins. Wake up each morning and decide to get 1% better. Make one strong choice. Take one powerful action. Build one small piece of momentum. And then do it again tomorrow. Because when you stack small wins, you build habits. When you build habits, you build discipline. When you build discipline, you build strength. And when you build strength, you become unstoppable. Consistency rewrites your story because no matter where you're starting from, who you've been or what you've been through, showing up day after day gives you the power to become someone completely different from the person you were yesterday. People often think transformation happens in one dramatic moment, one breakthrough, one opportunity, one big decision. But the truth is that real change is built slowly, steadily, and quietly through the actions you repeat over and over again. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. It's the force that takes your goals from possibility to reality. When you commit to showing up every day, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when you don't see immediate results, you are rewriting the narrative of your life with every choice you make. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. A single day of effort might not seem like much. A single workout, a single hour of studying, a single page written, a single act of discipline, it all feels small in the moment. But when you do it again the next day and the next day and the day after that, those small actions build into something massive. You don't notice the change day to day, but over months and years, the difference becomes undeniable. This is how people transform their bodies, their minds, their careers, and their mindset. Not through sudden bursts of effort, but through steady, repeated action that eventually reshapes everything. The reason consistency is so life-changing is because it creates identity. The actions you repeat become the person you are. When you consistently show up to the gym, you become someone who prioritizes health. When you consistently read, you become someone who values growth. When you consistently push through discomfort, you become someone who is resilient. When you consistently choose discipline over excuses, you become someone who can trust themselves. Your identity isn't defined by what you occasionally do. It is defined by what you repeatedly do. And once your identity shifts, your entire life follows. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They start strong, fueled by motivation and excitement, but the moment things get difficult or progress slows, they quit. They expect results too quickly. They want instant transformation. They want the reward without the repetition. But consistency requires patience. It requires faith in the process. It requires the understanding that meaningful change takes time. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. You water it, nurture it, protect it, and trust that the roots are growing even when you can't see them yet. Consistency also builds discipline. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your ability to control your actions instead of letting your feelings control you. That kind of self-control becomes a superpower. It means you can keep moving forward no matter what challenges come your way. Life will throw distractions, obstacles, and setbacks at you. That's guaranteed. But when you are consistent, when you have built the habit of showing up regardless of circumstances, nothing can derail you for long. You might slow down, but you won't stop. You might struggle, but you'll keep going. That's what makes consistency so unstoppable. One of the most important things consistency teaches you is resilience. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. Days when the effort feels wasted. Days when the results don't match the work you're putting in. But consistency forces you to push through those moments and trust the long-term vision. It teaches you to show up not for the result, but for the process. When you learn to love the process, you become invincible. You're no longer chasing quick wins. You're building a lifestyle that supports growth forever. Consistency also rewires your brain. Every time you follow through, you strengthen neural pathways that reinforce positive habits. Your mind begins to associate effort with achievement. You develop mental momentum. This is why the first few days or weeks of a new routine feel hard, but after a while, it becomes natural, automatic, even enjoyable. The more consistent you are, the more your mind and body adapt, making the once difficult feel effortless. That's the true magic of repetition. People often underestimate the long-term impact of consistent effort because they're too focused on short-term frustration. They expect visible progress immediately, but the most meaningful changes happen internally, long before they show externally. You might not see the results yet, but your mindset is changing. Your discipline is growing. Your confidence is building. Your habits are forming. And when all of those internal changes finally merge, the external transformation becomes inevitable. The Rock's entire philosophy is built on relentless consistency. He didn't become who he is because of one good year or one big role. He built his success brick by brick, workout by workout, project by project, year after year. He showed up long before anyone was watching, long before the world recognized his worth. That's the example of consistency rewriting a life story. That's what happens when you keep showing up, even when it feels slow. One day you will look back and realize that the small, consistent efforts you made were the turning point of your entire journey. You will see that every day you chose discipline over excuses was a chapter in your new story. you will see that the consistency you built in silence became the strength that carried you into a different version of your life. So don't worry about how far you still have to go. Focus on what you can do today. Win the day. Show up again tomorrow and keep going. Because every consistent choice is shaping your future. Every consistent action is rewriting your story. And if you stay committed long enough, the person you become will be unrecognizable in the best possible way.